Hello and welcome to this Workout Planner Excel template tutorial. In this video, I've got two goals in mind and I'm excited to tackle them with you. First, we'll get to know this template, how it works, what it does, and the cool features it includes. Second, we'll build the entire template from scratch, step by step so you can follow along and create it yourself. You'll find a free download link for the finished template in the description below. Feel free to pause, rewind, or replay this video as much as you need. My goal is to help you not just learn how to build this template, but also for you to pick up some handy Excel functions along the way. But before we dive in, let me give you a quick tour of what we're about to create. This template is a monthly workout planner equipped with 8 worksheets, 6 weekly planning tabs, 1 monthly dynamic calendar, and an exercise database for you to design, plan, and track your workouts. Each workout will consist of up to 15 strength exercises and up to 5 cardio exercises. You will define set workouts in each of the weekly worksheets, selecting the muscle groups you intend to train and adding the exercises that you plan on doing. In the monthly view, you will define the current month and year, and the calendar will update automatically. The calendar will also show the muscle groups that you have selected in the weekly tabs and will allow you to not only quickly glance at your plan, but also to mark the completion of the muscles that you train each of the weeks. The exercise database will allow you to add any number of exercises you want, specifying muscle group and equipment for each one, which you will be able to customize, as well as any additional notes that you want to add. Now that we've covered the basics, let's dive straight into the good stuff. Now let's go over how to use this template. Step 1, you will begin by customizing your exercise database. To simplify the monthly planning process, you will create a copy from the blank template after you have edited your database. This way, any exercises you add or change in this worksheet will be kept on all your subsequent copies, and you will have to do this step only once. Step 2. After creating a copy of your blank template, you will set the current month and year in the calendar worksheets. Once you have set the values for C7 and C9 for month and year respectively, the calendar will be updated automatically. You will see that the calendar will always start on a Sunday, but the weeks and the daily values will be adjusted to reflect your corresponding month. Lighter gray colors will be used to show days corresponding to either the previous or the next month, and you will have a total of 6 weeks to make sure that any month and year combination always fits in this view. For example, let's take March of 2025. You can see that March 1st, 2025 is a Saturday, appearing within week 1 of your calendar at the very end. And that the last day, March 31st, here, appears on a Monday in week 6. Days of February on week 1 and the April days on week 6 appear in your calendar but will be grayed out accordingly. After this, you will go to your weekly tabs and plan your daily workouts. Step 3. Start by selecting the muscle groups for each day, here at the top. You can choose up to 3 muscle groups per day. Notice that within each weekly tab, you will find 7 identical daily sections. So if I zoom out, you can see that you have 1 section per day, and each of those 7 sections are identical. Now, for step 4, you will add your exercises from the database, starting on strength training section, right below the muscle groups you have selected. Use the drop-downs provided under the exercise column to select an exercise from your database. After selecting an exercise, you will then define sets, reps or time, weight, as well as rest time for each one of those. You can add up to 15 exercises for each of the days. Then step 5 is for you to add any cardio exercises at the bottom of each daily section. You will also use the drop-down menu provided, and then we'll add sets, reps time, speed distance, and rest time for each of the cardio exercises. In this section, you can add up to 5 cardio exercises. Then, step 6 is for you to repeat this process for all the days of the week and all the weeks that you need based on your monthly plan. You can also mark a given day as a rest day by choosing the checkmark value below the date next to the Mark as Rest Day label. Then, step 7 is for you to go back to your calendar tab and review your plan, making any changes needed back on the weekly tabs. Step 8, track your workouts daily by selecting which muscle groups and cardio sessions you have completed for each of the days that you have added. You will use the check marks on the drop-down menus in the calendar. After choosing a check mark, your values will be strike through to note that you have completed those muscle groups. You can then create another monthly plan by either duplicating this file if your routines will be the same or similar to the month that you just created, or you can also start a new one from the blank template that you saved after adding your exercises on step 1. And now, for the main event, let's dive into the step-by-step guide to building this template from scratch. For this template, we'll break the creation process into 6 main sections. We'll start with the exercise database, then we'll go to the calendar view, where we will leave some formulas pending. Then we'll create the week 1 tab. Then from that tab, we'll create the 6 weekly tabs, extending week 1 into the full and monthly plan. Then we'll come back to the calendar summary, where we will be filling out the missing formulas from the second section. And finally, we'll add the conditional formatting to this worksheet. In each section, we'll handle the necessary cell values, formulas, and formatting step by step. To make things easier, I recommend you use the exact same cells and formulas that I do. This way, you can compare your version with mine and quickly spot any differences if you run into issues. And remember, feel free to pause, rewind, and replay this video as much as you need. Let's begin, as we mentioned, with the exercise section. First thing I'll do is I'll create a new worksheet, which I will always do with this plus sign at the bottom. And then after that, I'll rename the worksheet, either by double-clicking or by right-clicking and then clicking on rename. For now, I'll just put exercises-T for tutorial, and I'll always keep the original side by side for reference. Now, before continue, you might want to select on page layout, colors, the blue color palette or palette scheme here. This way, your colors that will be found here on home, for example, on the color palette, will be the same as mine. You can then come back and then select any other color scheme that you want if you want to copy into, for example, a yellow or a red color. And also, I will add these notes at the top so that our cells are also matching exactly against the reference. All right, so for this first tab, what we'll do is first create the entire header section. I'm gonna just copy the values, which is the same as inputting them manually on my new worksheet, starting on V6. So I copy them, Ctrl-Alt-V, and then paste the values, which is the same as manually inputting each of those here. Next thing I'll do is I'll copy the column widths. These are arbitrary, but I just want it to look exactly the same. Column width, 156. Let's see this one. Left click on the column, right click, column width, 156. So I come back, select the first two, right click, column width, paste the value, okay. Then for the next one, these two seem to be the same. Then the next column seems to be the same as A and B. So I'm gonna copy A, any cell on A, and then I'm gonna paste special with Ctrl-Alt-V, and then hit W for widths, and then enter. Then I'm gonna come back here, and then select F, copy this value, and paste it. By the way, I think I pasted in the wrong section. So I'm gonna move these just one to the right, values again. So I typed muscle group, equipment, exercise, and then the other three on columns C, D, and then F onwards. Then column G, and H seem to be the same width. And if they are, whenever I click on column width, the number shows up. By the way, it's the same width as C and D, so I can do the same copy the width or from C and D, or just input it here. And then for notes, it's probably a bit larger than F. All right, next thing, I will copy the format. Well, not copy, give it format. So I go to home, and then first thing seems to have a blue background, white font, bolded, and centered. And I also need to add a border, white colored. Make sure the line style is the first one, which is the thinner one. It is. And then all borders. And let's compare. Okay, looking the same. Now, I'm just going to copy this one until the rest of the labels, since it's the very same one. I can do it by either selecting copy or control copy, and then with shift, select this entire range, and then one of two things, paste, and then here formatting, or control alt V, and then hit formats. The other way is for me to put the format painter and then just select the one on the right. Either way works. And by the way, I have format painter in my quick access toolbar with alt 1. So whenever you see me doing this is because I just saved some time, but it's that same functionality. Now, two things are left. We just need to create these two tables. First, let's start with this. And by the way, I'm also just going to input these values as values. So it's the same as if I have texted or inputted them directly. Control Alt V and then values. And then I can see that this table goes all the way to row 16. So 16. Then in theory, I have a white background. Doesn't really matter. You can add it or not. And then I will select a line color in black for the border. And then all borders. And it's not as dark, so let me do that again. It's actually this gray color. Then all borders. And then I need to center these as well. All right. And then I can basically just copy these and then input it all the way to the end. Now you can extend this table as much as you like. For now, I'm just going to create 100 elements till row 106, starting on 7. So 106, I hit on shift so that I can extend the selection. And then once I'm there, Control Alt V and then formats. Excellent. Now two things. Muscle group and equipment, columns G and H, come directly from muscle group and equipment on C and D. To do that, I will basically just select the entire column one at a time. So first G, go to data, data validation, and then on allow, click on list, source. I'm going to click on source on the box, and then I'm going to select my entire muscle group. Now you can select all the way up until shoulders, or you can just select the entire range. The difference is that if I select the entire range, you can see that there's going to be an empty value here. Whereas if I had stopped at shoulders, this value would not have appeared. But this way, if I add something like, for example, other, and then I come back here, you can see that other now appears automatically. So either way works. Choose whatever's better for you. And I'm going to do the same for equipment. But this time, obviously, I'm going to select the other column. Go to data validation, list, click on source, and then do the same thing. And then OK. There you go. The only thing that's missing is that I like to add these gray background color, and then to take away the grid lines here in view. As you will see, grid lines is not selected here, and when I go to my tutorial sheet, it is selected. So first, this seems to have the same width as the beginning, and then I'll gray out the background with home, and then I add this light gray. I will speed these up so that you don't have to see everything. And lastly, as I mentioned, take out grid lines. Now these two are looking exactly the same. Perfect. Let's move on to calendar view. Here again, let's start by creating a new worksheet, which I'll rename. Let's do it now the other way. Right click, rename, and then calendar-t. Two worksheets cannot have the same name. That's why I'm adding or appending the -t. Also, this way we can take a look at what we have and what our reference is. As I mentioned, we'll add these two. And then let's begin. So I mentioned that we're going to leave some formulas pending. The formulas that are going to be left pending are the ones that are going to be showing the muscle groups that you will be training each of the days. Everything else we'll do right now. Let's start with the layout. We have a parameters panel, we have an optional notes section, and then we have the actual calendar view. So let's start just by formatting everything the same. Okay, I'm going to copy these again just as values, starting on B7. Control-Alt-V values. And then I'm going to come back and I'm actually going to copy these widths. And now that you already have this ones as well, I'm just going to copy this value, which is most likely the same one. And I'm going to Control-Alt-V widths, enter. And then the same one probably is for D, but I'm not going to risk it. So, okay, it was. Then E is different. It's a bit wider. Okay, I'm going to copy this value. And then F, it's a bit tricky as well. 256. Okay. So F, the one I just memorized. 256, before I forget it. Then E. I don't need to remember this because the computer did that for me. And then V was the same width. Now, I come back and B and C seem to have the same one. Copy this value. And then B and C, sorry, you have to select. Oh, let's try that. I don't know if you have to select the entire column. Yes, you do. Okay. B and D, B and C, sorry. Column width, paste that value, enter. And then, okay, let's stop there. So now, these, I'm very lazy, guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy these, and you'll see what I'll do. And I'm going to paste format, right? You already have this. So I just pasted the format. And then I'm going to select these two, and then I'm going to merge them. And then I just need to middle align. It's already center aligned. I middle aligned. And then I just need to change it to the green background. And then probably it's also 14. Let's see. It is 14. Okay. So very quickly, I just did that formatting, borrowing the one that I already had. Okay. Now let's do the same here. Copy. Alt-1 in my case activates Format Painter, sorry. And then I'm going to do the same here. Same. But these last three have a blue background. That does it. And now for this thing, we need a black border, all borders, merge, again, middle align, and then 14. Let's see. Correct. Now I'm going to copy these all the way. All right. Now, these two, I'm gonna add these conditional formatting right away and not gonna wait for the end of the video. I'm gonna, by the way, I'm on Home, Conditional Formatting, and then on Highlight Cells. For now, I just click on greater than 0 because I'm interested in just selecting this preset yellow. And then after I have done that, I go to Manage Rules, still with these two selected. I edit the rule, and then here in Format Only Cells With, I'm clicking blanks, OK. Apply, and then OK. And you can see that now that they're empty, the yellow color appears. As soon as I put a value, it disappears. Perfect. Now here, I also have a drop-down menu from 1 to 12 for the numbers of the months. So go to Data, Validation, and I'm gonna put a list, and I'm gonna type that manually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Comma separated, by the way. Hit OK, and there you have it. Year, nothing special. Now these three are actually formulas, so I like putting there a gray background so that you don't have to modify that, or it's visually stated that you cannot modify that. And now the formulas. So this one's easy. The first day, there is a formula called date, in which you just have to input the year, which is this one, the month, which will be this one, and then since it's the first day, I'm gonna use a 1. But now the problem with this formula is that these two are not specified. So we first have to say that if these both are larger than 0, so that's the nth two conditions united in the same statement. So the logical test is the nth. If true, define the date. If false, I'm also going to define a predefined date. So I'm going to do the year of today. So extracting what year is today, extracting what month is today. And then I'm just going to add a 1 because it's the first day. All right. Now for this one's pretty simple. We just say end of month of this start date with no offset for the months. So current month. And as you can see, this is just the date, but it's not yet formatted. So I just have to go here, short date. And then start of the week is going to be a nice trick for me to figure out where to start the calendar. For now, I just need to know which day of the week this date corresponds to. For that, I do weekday and weekday of the first day, and it will return a number. 1 is for Sunday, 2 is for Monday, 3 is for Tuesday, and so on. All right. Now let's create this notes section. Again, just typing notes with the copied value. And also, this is serving as a reference to know that it's a 2x2 merge cell. So I copy these, and then I just need to unmerge and remerge, essentially. And make sure that my line color is white, just so that the border is still there. And then I need to merge all these cells as well with 11, middle center, no bold, and general format from B20 to C36, and with a dark background as well. Sorry, the dark border. And by the way, yes, so I didn't use black on this one. I also used the gray one. Feel free to use whichever you want. So I'm actually using this gray for these borders instead of the black. You know, subtle difference. Use whichever you prefer. So now C36. It was 36. It was. And then I merge. I middle align. And then I mean, you could make sure that this is white, still is going to be white. And then for this one, look what happens when I put all borders. It's only one big border because it's one big cell because I just merged it. So either all borders or outside borders works the same for this one. Cool. Now onto the calendar. So the calendar starts on cell. Let's start with the weeks. Cell E8. So copy because I'm very lazy. Control Alt V. And by the way, I'm just going to copy the entire thing. You can type it. I'm just going to do Control Alt V, right? So I just typed it all. And then you can see that I have 4 merge cells where we always have the middle. And then I have a rotation of the text. And then I have to put this background color. I think it's this one. It's probably not this one. Let's see. It's probably this one. With white. It's most likely bolded. And most likely also a white border. Let's take a look. Okay, it is. Now that I have this one, guess what? Yes, I'm gonna copy it with my format painter and like magic, very quickly to fill out. All right. Now, notice that let's start first with the top day format. So for the top, I'm going to do the following. Notice that I have F and G, H and I, J and K. So essentially, those 2 cells are merged. So first, I'm going to merge these 2. And I'm going to come back here and copy the width. Give it the same. And for this one, for now, I'm just going to use equals this one. Now, you might think that I actually did a manual typing Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever, but I did not do that actually. What I did is I went to date and then either click on more number formats here or click on this tiny arrow at the bottom of the number section, go to custom in this displayed format cells dialog box, and then here in custom, I can type here instead of general. See what happens when I type 1V. So sample, you can see that sample general is this number, which is the date. For Excel, dates are offsets against the very first date, which is January 1st, 1900. So if I type V, it's now going to be 1. If I type double D, it's 0 paths with a leading 0 because it's just 1 digit. Another D, Sun for Sunday, abbreviated. And then for these, it's actually Sunday, which is what I want. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to add a blue background. Not that. White font. Bolded. And then you can middle align the entire thing. For now, I'm just going to leave it like this. And make sure also that we have our line. Yes, it's white. And it's the first style. So all borders. Beautiful. Now what I do, I copy these. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more days. I do Control Alt V. And then here first widths, so W. And then second formats, so T. And by the way, your local language, will change whatever letter is underscored, which is the way that you can quickly access to any of these values. Hit OK. And now we have the format. It's actually, no, yeah, it's 11. Okay. Looking good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, since these are all dates, it's just a consecutive date. So +1 and then +1. And then you can do the same, or you can copy and then again, just paste the entire thing because the formats are the same. Notice that as I drag the formula to the right, the reference gets updated. So the last day, out of the 7 is Saturday, and the first one is Sunday in this case. Now, what you can see is that I have one element here, which is the number of the day. So I'm going to start, and for now, trust me, I mean, in the example you could have seen, and let's do it right now. If I go to week 1, and then I mark this one as rest day, and then I come back here, you can see that this says rest day whenever I activate it. So these two are separate. It's not one single cell. I'm going to come back here, delete it. Then you can see that it's no longer there. So these two, while they have the exact same background for now, they're not the same cell. So let's leave it like that. And then let's put a outside borders in this case. Yes, it's white. And white font color. And most likely bold. All right. And then here you have a date, actually, which might be this one. Let's see. So the format, again, you might have guessed it. I go to custom, and then I'm going to go with just one "the" because I don't want it to put a preceding 0. And then I have actually to align these two. Center align. All right. And then it seems like it's correct, but then what happens if, for example, I say, okay, let's put March of 2025. And then, okay, March 1st, but this one's now a Saturday. And I said that I always want to start with a Sunday for this calendar, right? 6 weeks starting on a Sunday, like a printed version of a calendar. So this is not going to work. What I need to do is I need to do a slight correction. So how this works is I say C11, so the start, minus the number of the days that have gone by already in the week, so 7, and then I add 1 day back because we need to offset for that small difference. You can, and the small difference is just that, it's out of 7, it's not out of 6. So if I subtract 7, it's just going to be another Saturday, but for a prior week. So I add 1 back. And then these can be frozen or can be left like that. Either way works fine since the reference won't be moved. But know that if I click on F4, these two turn to absolute references. That's what the $sign stands for, both on column as well as on the rows. That way, whenever you copy and paste the formula, those references will be kept and won't be changed. And the +1 can be like that. When I hit enter, see what happens. I now have a 23 there. So it's a February 23. Because then 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and then voila. Here you would have your first of the month, and it would be a Saturday. So what I need to do now is I simply need to copy these formatting, either by Format Paint, or once I have the second one, I simply do this +1, because there are consecutive dates. Select the entire thing, and then I just keep doing either Control V or select the entire thing and then hit Control V. And now we have it. Now we need to change the first one because it was regarding C11, but it's no longer that. It's actually this one, F7. Hit enter, and now our calendar is starting to look the same. Okay, for the example, I'm gonna just delete these two. And it's looking really nice. Now, we can copy the same format into this row. And what I can do is I can just simply add 7 days here because it's just the next week, right? And then do that for the following days as well. You could copy the +1 formula that we had at the top or the +7. It works the same. And then once I have that, I can copy these and then put it here. Nice. All right. Now, we mentioned the conditional formatting. We're going to leave that till the end. The formulas for the rest day that you just saw, those will come in later, as well as the muscle groups. But for now, what we can do is we can add the grids. So this grids. And what we'll do is select the entire thing, and then we'll make sure that the line is gray or black if you prefer, all borders. And then let's just see one small thing. This is centered, all right? And this is also centered. Okay. So I have this. I'll just hit center. And once I did that, one last thing I need to do. These are containing a dropdown with check mark or with a dash. So to add that, first I need to have a check mark handy, which you can do by doing equals unichar 10,003. Then I'll copy this as a value. The formula, by the way, gives me any character with a code in the Unicode code. And it happens that the check mark is 10,003. So now that I have the value, you can see that I now selected a value here. I go to data validation. I can delete this value or I can leave it. I go to data validation, and then put list, and then add check mark and dash. Hit OK. Nice. And then actually, I forgot to do that for the entire selection. And then I'm going to hit yes. So I extended that validation to all the rows. And when I have that, I can copy that, except that I just need to delete that. Once I delete that, I don't carry it forward. And I'm just copying and pasting these first 4 rows into each one of the columns. And after pasting them with Control copy and Control V, you can see that the drop-down menus are added into each one of the corresponding cells. Once I have that, I can copy the entire week and then just paste it. Nice. Okay, I think that concludes the calendar view layout, at least. As I mentioned, the conditional formatting, which is also the one that's being used to change this color gray whenever it's out of scope for the days of the month. We'll do that later. And before we move on, let's just also add the gray background. Again, I'll speed this up. Okay, I'm not gonna take the grid lines right now because we have not yet finished with the formulas. But apart from that, I think it's looking good. Great. Now let's create one of the weekly tabs. I'm gonna start again adding a new worksheet, renaming it to say week 1T. And for our reference, I'm gonna put it right next to week 1. Again, I'm gonna start by copying these two. Great. Now let me zoom out so that we see the entire thing. Okay, in the overview as well as in the instructions, you saw that essentially all these weekly tabs are exactly the same. And within each one of them, you have 7 sections, 1 per day. Each section is exactly the same. You have a date at the beginning, indicating the name of the day, always starting with Sunday. Then the date, depending on the month that you have configured. Then you can mark as rest. You have 3 muscle groups. You have the strength training, up to 15 rows. And then you have cardio, up to 5. And everything is surrounded by a border. So the way we'll do this is we'll just create one of these, and then we'll copy it another 6 times. And then once we have this, you'll copy this worksheet 6 times to the right, or in this case, 5 times to the right, and you'll just rename the worksheets. And that way you'll have your weekly planning worksheets. So I'm gonna zoom in, and let's start first by inputting the date. So as you can guess, this one's also a date value actually, and it's gonna be a custom format. So on cell V11, for now, I'm just gonna put Sunday so that we know the reference, but remember, this is not correct. Now, the date is actually a reference to your calendar. You can see that it's equals calendar and then exclamation. Whenever you see this, that means Excel is referencing to another worksheet within your workbook. If your worksheet has a name that has spaces, it will add some commas, simple commas or simple apostrophes in between the name so that the space is not messing up with the formula. But then it always ends with an exclamation mark. And then here, you can see that the reference is F7. If I go back to my calendar and then click on F7, you can see that it's referencing back to the first date in my calendar. So let's do that. And by the way, you don't have to type calendar exclamation. You can simply go to calendar, in this case, calendar T, and then click here. And you can see that in your formula bar, the name calendar with the space, the dash, and the T appeared, and the apostrophes that I was mentioning, or the simple commas, appeared. Then you'll have the exclamation mark, and then F7 you can leave like that, or you can also add a fixed reference with the dollar signs. It's the same. Hit enter. Now you have the date there. And by the way, let's format these so that we have the widths. I think these 3 or these 4 maybe are the same 156 that we have been using. No, okay. Maybe these 3 are. Yes. So let's do that. Again, in case I have not mentioned that, arbitrary width numbers, so feel free to change it if you want. It's just a number that looked good on my screen. This is a bit larger. And then we have E on 2089. Then for F is 1422. Then G and H might be the same. Yes, 1422. Maybe I is even the same. Yes. And then J, 156 again. And then we have a space, which will likely be 156. Okay. So you can input all of those values manually. What I'm just going to do, since I just show you how to do it, I'm going to copy these. And I'm just going to paste them. Oops. I did something wrong. There you go. All right. Now, let's start with this format. This is 16 bolded. So, and it's also merged. 16. Notice that as soon as I input 16, the row increased automatically. Bolded, blue, white font, line color white, all borders. Nice. Now, something's off. Why does it look... Oh. Yes. Okay, we'll come back to that. It's just a text. And then, same thing. It's the entire thing. It's merged. Now in a different blue, which I'm guessing is this one. We can come back here. And then actually select the one that is and not just invent the value that I want. By the way, whenever you have selected a value, it will be preloaded here. So if I click here and then I select this one, which is the one that is being used, then I come back and I just click here, it changed because it was preloaded. So I do font color, and then here it's probably a short date. No, it's actually a long date. It's a custom. Let's see. So I click here, and I'm just gonna copy this entire thing. It has the month completely named. So you can see it has 1, 2, 3, 4 M's. Then the day with 0 padding if needed, and then the year. I'm gonna copy that, and then you go to custom, and here you just enter that, or enter whichever format that you want. Hit OK. It's bolded, which I didn't do. Control B bolts, by the way, that's a shortcut. And then this, let's see, it's this first blue. I'm gonna copy as value. Then these two are merged. I already selected this. Now let's go with the line color gray, all borders. Let's see if that looks the same. Yes. And now for this one, how many rows? 3 rows for the 3 muscle groups. 1, 2, 3. So I can either do these, for example. I can add the format here, and then if I merge, see what happens. It's all blue now. Or you can merge first and then add the blue. Works either way. Okay. And then these ones are also merged. And then this is merged. And I just need to copy these 3. Okay. Now here we also have the checkmark thing. So unichar 10,003. And oops. Copy. And then go to data validation. You're gonna list, separate with comma. There you have it. All right. And now for these 3, there's gonna be another data validation where the value is the list that you defined from your muscle groups. So the source is the exercise-t for the tutorial that we just created. And then you can see that it's C7 to C16. Again, if you don't want the blank spaces, you can leave it all the way to shoulders, in this case, row 14. Hit OK. Nice. Okay. Now, strength training is essentially a label that I just copied. Let's now borrow this format for now. And I'm just going to put general. Nice. See? Always an easy way. And now I can borrow this one as well. Let's, by the way, copy those labels as values. Always, I'm not cheating. Value. And then, see, because this was merged, it basically duplicated this. So I can just copy these and then paste it. And then for the other, it's not going to be as easy because it's going to try to merge it. So I'm just going to do it again. But once I have it, I can copy it and then paste it. Nice. Then this is a drop down. The rest is just centered and with a border. So let's do that. We said we had space for 15. So let's first merge these. Then we'll add a center alignment for the entire selection. Then the border, making sure it is the gray, yes. And then let's first add the data validation. Now, here again, you can have a list of your entire exercise source, which can be like all the way till the end here. Or if it's larger than that, just keep selecting until you reach the end. You can also select the entire sheet if you want, in case you want to add exercises later on and you have like a crazy database. So that, because if you don't add the entire selection and you add a new exercise, you won't see it coming here in this drop down, and it's just going to be because your selection is not updated on the data validation. Here, row 106. So if you have values past 106 on that exercise tab, make sure you update these row as well. And once I have that, I can copy these essentially 15 times, right? So that's 2, 15. All right. And now I have that cardio section. I'm going to borrow these. Oh, come on. I thought I had merged these two. Maybe I didn't. Okay, it's now merged. I'm just gonna copy paste again. Okay, and just to test this, I'm just gonna put test. I'm gonna go to week 1, and then let's just add this one. It says test. Nice, so it's working. Always good idea, to start debugging before finishing. All right. Now that I'm thinking about it, I really don't know why I left this column D like this. You can just simply start with E, because there's nothing for us to be using it. I was probably thinking on adding another tracker here for every single exercise, but then I didn't do it. If you want, you can add a tracker for the exercise with a check mark as well here, and then you can continue with that on each of the days. That would be a nice add if you want to do it. For now, I think I didn't do it. That's why there's a legacy sort of merge cell which is not being used for anything. But now that I'm seeing it, you can actually go ahead and instead of having merged these two, you can add another drop down like we just did with a check mark here, and then have it being used to set like whenever you have completed an exercise, you can mark these down. Like think about if you print this, you can also just with a pencil or a pen, just mark each exercise when completed on that space if you want to. Or you can just leave it like this if that's okay with you as well. Okay, so this was cardio. And now, again, I am gonna borrow these because why typing it twice? And then I'm gonna take these formats, format painter, ta-da, as well as the same formats here. 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, look at that. Probably that's why it was unmerged. So if I do these, okay, that works. Nice. Copy and paste, basically. You can copy these, Control copy, and then just select the 5, Control V, and that works. Now notice that I'm not differentiating the cardio exercises from the strength training exercises. You could do something more fancy, and then even depending on the muscles that you select here, you could create a dynamic list that only show exercises for those muscles. Or you can also do something even more fancy, and then depending on the exercises that you select, you could append the muscles here and then have that shown in your calendar automatically. But for now, we're doing this manually, and then we're not differentiating the list of the strength versus the cardio exercises. So you'll see the same exercises here appearing on exercise for cardio as well as for strength training. Now, that is almost everything. The one last thing that we need to do is just this one equals this. And we need to change this so that it's the name. Custom There we go. Okay, now we just add a border, outside border like this. And we've got our little section for the first day of the first week. As I said, the only thing that's left now is for us to copy that. And we'll just have to change this formula so that it traces back to the calendar. And that's probably why I added the fixed reference now that I'm thinking about it. So I'm going to add the fixed reference. And for now, I'm actually going to zoom out a bit. And I'm going to do copy all the way to K and then copy from B. So I selected the columns C to K, copy, and then I'm going to right click on L and I'm going to put insert copied cells. And just like that, it was very quick and easy. And now with the same selection that I still have, right click, and then, oh no, it was deleted. So Excel just tricked me. Again, select from C to K, and then hit on U in this case, and then insert copied cells. Then copy while you have that selection, control copy, and then on AD, and then insert copied cells. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the other 3 days will be below here. So now it's not F7, it's actually H, and then J, and L. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. And now, to finish it off, I'm just going to copy these 3. And let's see how many spaces I have. So only 1 space. And then on 43, I copy that. So I can do 2 things, actually. I can do this, copy like the entire thing. And then on 43, insert the rows, insert copied cells. And then I just need to delete this one. So I select the entire thing and then go to this eraser and select clear all. And voila. I only need to change the columns for this one. So we ended in L, N. I'm scooping 2, by the way. So after N, then P, skipping 2. And then R. Okay. And then you might have guessed we are missing these week 1, which, I mean, you can merge if you want. It's not really necessary. I think in some cases it is if you want to show the font or the background color in a different way. In my case, okay, C6, I'm just going to come back to C6. So again, manually inputted week 1. I'm going to merge the entire thing. I'm going to align at the center, I think. And then in this case, it's going to be aligned left. Yes, it's middle left. And then it's 26 bold. Nice. And then as always, what's left? The green lines and the gray background. So let's do that. I'll speed these up. Very nice. Now that we have our week 1 completed, as you can see by just comparing it against the previous one that we kept for reference, okay, if you see that something is just jumping, it's because not everything is middle aligned or center aligned. I always forget which one is it. This one, middle align. Okay, so now, sorry, what you need to do is one last thing. This is week 1, but we have 6 weeks in total. So what I want you to do is I want you to do this thing 5 times. I'll do it once, and then I'll just leave it to you to do the other 5. So copy, right? You can move or copy, create a copy, and then I'm going to create it after week 2. And then I'm going to rename this to nice. Then here, we're going to change the week. And now, this is not going to be 7, but if I go back, it's now going to be row 12. For the following week, week 3, the row is going to be 17, then 22, then 27, and lastly, 32. So, where was I? Here. 12. And you could get fancy and just do a replace, search a replace. I'm not doing it so that we don't get any further distractions since I pretty much done already. Just be careful if you do it and don't overwrite anything else. Okay, so if I compare these against week 2 now from my original reference, nice. Again, the middle align is the only thing that's jumping out. So, see what I did? You just have to do it again 4 more times for weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6. Come back to the video when you have done it. Now, we have done the exercise database, the calendar view, week 1 tab, then the 6 weeks. Now, we have to come back to the calendar view and then do the formulas that I was talking about. So for the formulas, you can guess now that I'm actually going to reference each one of these cells, doing an equals, back to the week 1, and then I'm going to hit on this one, right? Muscle 1. Then once I have that, I can copy it and then paste the next one and then paste the next one. And by the way, you can see that a bunch of different zeros appeared because I had merged that selection. So for the first one, it's not F14 colon something, it's just F14. So I'm going to copy these again. And there we go, 14, F14, 15, and 16. And if I go here, F14, 15, and 16, I can see it here. All right, but this is going to take me a while, right? And it's going to be a bit of a pain also because this is not going to be the same one. We'll come back to the cardio. But these 3, like you can do 2 things. You can do what I just did, and then you can come here and then do again, go to week 1, and then now go to Monday, and then do this thing. Delete everything after the colon. And then once you have that, you can copy and paste, and then do the next day, and the next day, and then the next week, and then, I mean, this is going to take forever. So what I did is actually I did a special little trick called indirect. And then in indirect, what I'm doing, you can see that I'm doing an indirect of a reference, which is E8, or in the next one, E13, in the next one, E18, and so on and so forth. And then I'm just changing the F value and the row value. So F14, 15, 16, and then O, 14, 15, 16, then X, then AG, and then F again, but now 47, because it's the section now at the bottom for the last 3 days. F again, then O again, and then X again, but now 47, 48, and 49. Now, this indirect formula, what allows me to do is to go fetch a data or a value of a cell that it's in an given by a reference, an indirect reference. How does that indirect references work? So you start typing indirect here on your first day. And then for indirect, you're going to give it a text. And that the text is essentially going to be what I have here. Week 1 F14. Obviously, I have week 1 dash T, but you're going to stay with week 1, week 2, week 3, etc. So back to this calendar. What I want you to type is the following. And again, you're going to use week 1, not week 1T, okay? So you're going to do equals indirect. And then the reference text is going to be this entire thing, right? So if I just do this, it's not going to work. But what if I do this? Double, double. It did work. It's showing something. Let me show you. If I go here and then just put, say, arms and go back to my calendar, there you go. Arms is there. So now, how do we construct this dynamically? So you have week 1 here, and week 2, and week 3, and you can see that the worksheets are called that way. Week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. It's very important that this name here, the label week 1, matches the name of the worksheet. Otherwise, it will break and it won't work. So what you're going to do is instead of putting week 1, you're going to say, keep this single comma, delete this entire thing, and add 2 ampersands. Then in between those ampersands, I'm going to add, by just clicking, this cell, E8. But I'm actually going to keep E8 fixed. So E is always going to be E, and 8 is always going to be 8. And now, F14, I need to, forgot one little thing. I need to add another double quotation here, another double quotation here, and there you go. So now I'm not extracting the value from week 1-T that had arms. I'm actually extracting the value from week 1. So if I put arms now here and go back, you can see that arms appear. And essentially, once you do that, you can just copy these into the next 2. But now you just need to transform these into 15 and 16. Once you do that, you can essentially copy these to every single week. Now this is going to be week 2, but you need to change the reference so that it's no longer this week. It's this week, right? Week 2. And then do the same here. And then just change the reference to week 3, right? I think this is much quicker than going back and forth and typing every single reference manually. Then change to week 4. And oh, by the way, also what you can do is, what if I take away the 8 here? All right, maybe you can leave it there, then copy for the first 3. But once you have that, you can come here and then change it. Like if you copy directly, you don't have to even change the reference. It will take care of itself. So copy and then paste, copy and then paste, copy, paste, and copy, paste. Oof, the magic of copy, paste. Quite dangerous magic, but it works this time. All right, so as you could see, I left the reference in 8 so that I could copy to every single of these cells, but then you can take it out, or you can copy it manually like this and say, okay, this indirect, then input it here, and then take out the 15, right? Sorry, the 14, and then put the 15, and then do the same here and give it 16. Once you have that, then copy these values directly into the other ones. And then actually, before copying every single day, what you can do is finish a row by just copying the same formula, like this. Actually, this same formulas. But now instead of F, you're not going to fetch F. You're going to go and fetch. So it was F. Now you're going to fetch O. Then you're going to fetch X. Then you're going to fetch a G. And then finally, you're going to have F again, O again, and then X again, but you're going to change the row numbers. So come back to my calendar example so that you can see. I have F14, 15, 16, as I said. Now here I have O, but the same reference, E8, 14, 15, 16, and then X, 14, 15, 16, AG, 14, 15, 16, back to F, but now 47, 48, 49, then O, 47, 48, 49, and finally X, 47, 48, 49. Once you have those values, what you can do is just copy the entire thing, right? And I'm gonna just simulate that I have every single thing here, right? And once that let me do copy formulas, right? You're gonna end up with something like this. Once you have this, you can basically just copy the entire thing and then just put it there. And it works amazingly because you kept your references, right? And because every single tab is just a copy and every single tab has the same exact cells. So you're just changing the reference, right? The week, the column, and then the row. You can even get more fancy and add the rows and the columns, but I mean, come on, we're not talking about so many values, right? So you can manually modify your first week and then just copy it into the following ones. So let's copy to the following ones. Nice. Now, obviously, week 1T and week 2T, I'm not using it anymore because these are referencing week 1 and week 2 and so on. Okay? So now, finally, we have these other two formulas. We have this rest day one and we have the cardio one. For the cardio one, what I'm doing is I'm actually saying if there are any cardio exercises defined in the corresponding range where you should input cardio exercises, then show there's a cardio section. And if not, then show nothing. And you can see that I'm also doing indirect reference, much like we did on the previous sections. So same indirect, and now for D3640, then for M3640, then V3640, AE, same rows, D again, but now 69 to 73, then M again, 69, 73, and finally V, 69 to V73. So again, you just have to do these formula once. So copy these. In my case, I'm going to copy it, but what you're going to do is you're going to input here on cell G11 an if count A, which means count if not blank, the indirect of the same thing that you already had, but now the range changes. And if that thing, the count A, turns out to be greater than 0, then add the label cardio. And if not, then add nothing. And once you have that, you can essentially copy these and then put it here. But what you're going to do now is you're going to change these reference, right? So the references were these ones, M, V, A, E, and then go back to D, but now change the row numbers, and then go back to M, and then go back to V. So I'm going to copy this entire thing, formulas. And once you have that, guess what? You can copy and paste because your references are still going to be valid. Now we're referencing the indirect week 2, and then my ranges are still applicable because the worksheets are copies among them. So let's finish that. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Cool. Now the last formula, the rest day formula. This is also going to be an indirect one because guess what? The structure is the same. Now here, what you need to do is you need to say, if in the F13 of my week 1 or whatever week we're in, depending on the row, referenced indirectly, turns out to be a checkmark value, then put rest day. If not, then show nothing. So again, in this case, I'm going to copy the formula, but you'll type it down and you put if indirect of the same range and same things that you already have for F13 equals the check mark. Remember to add the double quotes, then put a rest day, again with double quotes. If not, then nothing. And now for these other days, you're just going to change the column. Essentially, the column is now going to be O, then X, then AG, then F again, but now 46, O46, and X46. So let me copy those. You're just going to copy and paste the formula and then just change the references. Okay. Oh, by the way, I did this. Doesn't really have to be done this way, right? Because we already have the reference here. So we just add the +1. You don't have to subtract it and then add +2 and then +3 and then +4. Okay. Now, once you have that, what happens with the following rows? Guess what? You don't have to change a thing. If you input the references correctly, it will take care of itself. So, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy these, only these, because if not, I'm going to just drag the formula for the number. I'm going to copy paste, as simple as copy paste into the next row. See how the references are kept. And so now I'm on week 2, but everything else is the same. Copy paste and copy paste. And now I can copy this entire thing because these formulas are the same, right? The 8 and the 15 and the 22 have the same formulas. So select the entire row and then just copy it again. And very quickly we have our monthly summary. Now the last piece is the conditional formatting. So for conditional formatting, I have a few rules. You can see that there's a bunch of zeros here because if it's empty, the values that I'm fetching indirectly for each of the weekly tabs, if there's nothing there, a 0 is displayed. But I don't want a 0. I want to see blank or nothing. So we can trick it in a very simple way. We select the entire thing, and then we add a conditional formatting rule where we say, let's just for now, actually, let's add a new rule. And here, let's put format only cells that contain a value equal to 0. And then the format is just going to be a white font color. Oh, it was as easy as that. I'm not really deleting the zeros. I'm just hiding them. So that's an elegant solution. Then the other thing I want is to do, in case these are not in scope, I'm going to add a new rule where I'm going to say, use the formula. Actually, I want to say, for this thing, I have 2 different possibilities. I have the possibility where this entire thing is out of scope. So what I do is I have to create 2 rules, actually. And this is going to be a bit messy in the managing of the rules. So if you go to these and then display these worksheets, right now it's very simple. It's going to be very messy real soon unless you manually select each one of these, right? Which I'm not going to do. You can, with control, you can just keep selecting the day numbers and then end that for the entire calendar. Or you can be lazy like I am and then just do new rule. And here use a formula where the value of F7 is less than the first day with the reference like this. And then the format is going to be the fill the middle gray. Okay, hit OK. And then the other thing you need to do, add another rule, which is going to be very similar. And actually, I'm going to duplicate it. Manage rules. This one, I'm just going to duplicate and then edit. And then if F7 is larger now than C13, OK, apply. And then I need to do the same thing, but now for this one. So I need to add a new rule where I say if F7, still F7, is less than this, then gray. Okay. And then I'm going to go to manage rules and then duplicate and then edit and now say larger than 13. Okay. Apply. So if I go to these worksheet, now I have these 4 rules applying to G and F7. And lastly, I need here to say a new rule if this format only cells that contain equal to, and I'm going to put, oh no, it's actually, yes, it's rest day. Rest day. Then let's use black. Okay. Okay. Now what I just did is that I added a few rules, right? I added all these rules, but these are only going to be applicable to the first one. So let's say I did this calendar, right? You can see that. And now let's select March of 2025. There we have it, right? It's now light gray. Let's delete the rest day for now. Light gray. And if I put the rest day again, there we have it. So now the only thing that's left is for me to copy and paste every single one of these conditional formatting rules, which is going to just make that managing rules crazy, as I mentioned. The only way you can undo that mess is by selecting every single number and then doing the formulas that we did, the conditional rules, and then selecting every single rest day and then do that as well. But if not, I mean, you can ignore it. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that you need to make sure of is to have the right colors. Otherwise, it's going to be a real pain in the butt to redo those changes and to update your entire worksheet. But let's do this. We just select like this with the format painter, and we extend those rules all the way till the end. So we'll manually check Saturday of week 1. Saturday of week 1. There you go. Here, okay. And then finally, you copy this thing, you format paint the entire selection. And now let's check this one. Week 6, Thursday. Week 6. Let's go to Thursday. Here, sorry. And let's go to calendar. There we have it. Woof. And now if you're curious, manage rules, these worksheet. And this is what I was talking about. This is the mess that was created by copying the formulas. You can see that there are individual ranges. So for each cell, it created a rule, and that was a problem. But no worries. If you did it right and you're happy with the format, you have nothing to worry about. You'll never go back to there. Okay. I think that was easy. Let's see. What are we missing? We did the database, the calendar. Now we completed the formatting with the formulas. We did the weekly tabs. We did the summaries. I think we're good to go. Let me just check. Are we missing anything? I don't think we are. Okay, we can now go to view and then click on grid lines, and we have a finished product. I lied. We have one conditional formatting that we didn't add. So what happens if I select the check mark? Nothing happens. So to do that, I just simply add another rule saying, let's add for this conditional new rule, and then say use a formula. And then the formula is whenever F8 equals this text, then activate strike through, hit OK. And then you can see it's working now. I'm just going to do tests like this. I'm going to undo. Just, okay, it's working. Perfect. And once you have that, again, copy and then paste the entire thing. And then once you have that, you can paste with the format painter across the entire week. All right. Now it's working. And if you're curious, manage rules. This will be a mess. As promised, it's a dirty mess. But hey, it's working, so no worries. Perfect. Before we say our goodbyes, I just want to briefly talk about one extra topic. If your Excel version allows it, you can use the checkboxes instead of the checkmark dropdown I have used for compatibility reasons. So, I'm talking about this insert checkbox. If you see that, then your version is compatible. If you don't see it, then you will not be able to use checkboxes. You can use the checkboxes both here in your monthly calendar view to mark the completion of your muscle groups, as well as in the weekly tabs to mark the rest day for each of the individual daily sections. If you want to use them, then you need to do the following series of changes. Step 1 is you will delete the drop-downs for the calendar view, as well as the daily sections, which allow you to mark as complete or mark as rest day, respectively. So you'll go here, you'll select the drop-downs, you go home, clear, data, data validation, and then you'll select on clear all. And you'll do that for each one of these checkboxes, these drop-downs that we added. As I mentioned, also these ones, right? The ones where you mark as rest day. Okay, that's step 1. Then step 2 is for those same cells, you're going to insert a checkbox. So for the checkbox, first make sure you have no data. And then, for example, like this. And then you'll go to insert, and then you'll hit on checkbox. And that will insert a checkbox in each of those cells. And you'll have to do the same thing with these cells. So to illustrate, let me just zoom in. Step 1, data, validation, clear, right? Okay, then make sure you have nothing there, delete, and then you'll insert checkbox, and you'll have a checkbox there. Then you'll need to change the formulas by switching from the checkmark to a true value on the rows with the day number for your calendar. So you'll go back here, and then instead of saying, for rest day equals to checkmark, you'll put equals true, and that will take care of that. And then finally, you'll have to change the conditional formatting for your muscle group rows here on the calendar. So essentially, you'll select each one of these, then go to Home, Conditional Formatting Manage Rules, and then here instead of equals checkmark, you have to put just F8 equals true, essentially. Equals F8, equals F9, etc. Whenever a checkmark is activated, its value is true. Whenever it's not activated, it's false. You can see here, if it activated, it's true. If not activated, it's false. So probably the easiest thing to do is to select the entire thing. So here, not with the numbers. So only the week where the muscle groups and cardio are being fetched and displayed. And then clear the rules only from selected, and then add again the rule with the strike through, but now instead of putting equals checkmark, just put equals F8 F9, F10, F11, and so on and so forth, and copy them. And that way, you'll have a version with checkboxes, which will probably look way cooler than the drop down version. Very nice. Great work. And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up or drop a comment below to let me know what you think. If you're into Excel and want to learn more, consider subscribing to my channel. I'll be posting more tutorials and courses to help you level up your spreadsheet skills and create awesome templates and tools. And hey, if you're in the hunt for more productivity and planning tools, check out my store. The link's in the description. Until next time, stay productive, stay awesome.